and welcome to Round Robin. I'm your host, Robin McCormick with the City of Hampton, and today we are going to meet a filmmaker, actor, producer, writer who lives right here in Hampton and is doing some exciting projects. Welcome, Bryan Thompson. How are you?
Thank you. It's really great to be here.
It's wonderful to meet you. I'm so excited. You have been in the film business for quite a while, doing different things.
I have, yeah. I love film. I'm former military, but before that, I was into acting and singing. Actually, I was a professional singer for a little while. So I've always been very connected to the arts community, right? Even when I was doing very serious things. So when I got out of the military, I started really working hard in the film business, and started a film festival, and I started making movies, and it's just been, ever since, it's just been great.
That's wonderful. And you brought that film festival to Hampton, but we talked about that another time. Well, tell us what you're doing. You are making movies now in Virginia, right?
Yes. So I have made, up until now, 11 feature films. I'm working on my 12th. I do films overseas as well, Madrid, Spain, and so on. But we have started, since I've come back from Miami to Virginia, we have started really heavily working on a number of projects at the same time, really. Because, projects, they go through phases, right? You have the scripting phase and the casting phase, and so it's not uncommon if you have a big enough team.
Get shooting location and all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
So you juggle those.
Yeah. But we're going to be making more movies in Virginia. So I've made a few movies in Hampton already. I made Carter's Family Reunion, Thanksgiving with the Carters, Christmas with the Carters, and Thanksgiving with the Carters 2, Second Helping.
So where will people see your movies?
So if you go on Peacock right now, for example, or Vizio, you can watch a lot of my movies. Just put in Bryan with a Y, Bryan G. Thompson, and I'll come up, and you'll see those movies that I mentioned. You'll see a movie called Valentine's Date. You see a couple of my action movies, Rogue Cell 1 and 2. And then you'll see my most recent action, gritty movies, which are called Dirt and Clutch.
That's a lot. How did you get into this and become this successful at this young age?
So I think a lot of it was so I always say trauma, right? Because I got my first real movie idea when I was deployed in Iraq. And I thought to myself, okay, if I make it home, I'm going to create this movie. I have no idea how I'm going to do it. I'm not a Nepo baby. I didn't at the time anyway, have any real connections. Mm-hmm. So my barriers to entry were huge.
Right.
But I was too naive to really understand that, right? And so I started off big right away. And so I said, okay, well, I need to make a concept trailer. And my first concept trailer, because I was working with the right people, because, my philosophy, let me go back. My philosophy is surround yourself with people who know what they're doing, and then your results will be the results of someone who knows what they're doing, right?
Right.
And so I did that, and there was a young lady who was working with the production team named Bridget, and Bridget had a contact in Hollywood. And so what ended up happening is that contact came, and my first concept trailer had Tony Todd in it, the Candyman. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was in it. He came to Virginia. We did it right at the Virginia Living Museum. And that was essentially, I would say that was, in a lot of ways, the start of my process. You know what I mean? Because after that, I immediately had credibility, and I was able to, because I had a logistics background from the military.
Okay.
It has definitely helped me, both with the festivals and with making films. It's helped me in being able to manage multiple things at the same time, and also manage my emotion about it. You know what I mean?
Well, that is the point I never would have thought of. Yeah.
It's crazy because there's so much pressure, right? So you're making a movie, especially the way that I do it. I work with Maverick Entertainment, right? So Maverick Entertainment has been my biggest backer for my films. And it's great because the symbiosis is there because, like, when they do a movie with me, I know I'm getting distribution, right? And I know they work with, I think it's up to 20 platforms now. Everything, Redbox, digital, you name it, they've got it, right? And they have their own TV channel.
And that's wonderful and I'm not going to say you're a niche audience because I think you reach much bigger than that, but also particularly to find Black viewers of movies that are themed for Black people and about Black people. Doesn't mean I'm not going to watch it, but you also have to reach those people, as well. So having those multiple outlets is wonderful.
Yeah, no, it's been really great. That is a partnership that I'm really grateful to have. But getting back to the pressure, it's like you have a timeline. And you have a timeline and you have a certain budget and you have to work within that budget, and anything that happens on set that threatens that budget is a big problem. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And it can be anything
Timing,
from
someone's sick, prop wasn't ready, or any of the, there's a million things. Couldn't get to where you're shooting. Oh my gosh.
Exactly.
And so didn't go well. I'm just thinking of all the problems now. Okay, go on.
Right. And so if you're not good at managing your emotions on set, then you'll find yourself in a situation where you're just like, you can't make good decisions. And so when I'm on set, I'm always focused on making the decisions that's going to make the project successful, because everyone is counting on this. You know what I mean? Like every project that I do, I look at it as an opportunity to get everyone, all of cast and crew, to the next level. You know what I mean? And so I try to make every single project a little bit better than the last project. Regardless of budget, it's all about getting better at the craft.
Right. Well, how is it? There are people who direct and act, or maybe people who produce and direct, but you do it all from the script on. What is that like, and how is that good in some ways, or maybe not good in other ways?
So it's challenging, first of all, because you have to essentially be multiple people, right?
Right. When you have a role, you're that person. But when you're a director, that's different.
Very true. And also, so just starting with the script, right? So the screenwriting process, it's very quiet. It's very introspective. You have to find a place of peace so that you can have absolute empathy for the characters that you're writing. And sometimes that takes time, because you're literally at a moment, at least in my process, I'm going through this analysis of what would this character say next and why, and what are those motivations and why are they motivated in this way. When I first started doing that, it was very challenging. Now it's a much faster process.
It's a very different kind of writing than any other kind of writing. I write a lot, but scripts are way different.
It is very different. And it's also, so for me, because I write in multiple genres, it's also even more complex. But it's been working out. It's a thing that you have to learn how to manage. Again, it's managing emotions, but the thing that has really gotten me to the finish line with all these projects has been the empathy. That empathy has been the thing that has helped me to be all those people at the same time. Because when you really look at the big picture of what filmmaking is, it's all about helping a group of people. Each one of them has a different job and different needs, and helping them to make sure that they're all successful. And so, like military leadership has helped me with that, but also I think it's every single project, it's going to be challenging, but you expect it to be challenging, so it never becomes overwhelming. The directing when you're acting is particularly challenging, right? And so like in a recent film that I did called Dirt, I actually appointed someone else to be the director of the film. And that worked out really well. It freed me up to do a lot of things. But I still like directing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that the reason why I like it as a writer is because directing puts you in a position where you can execute the entire vision, and you immediately know if the vision isn't being executed properly, and you can sort of right the ship. You know what I mean? So
Whether that means the script or whether that means the actors, or you've got control of all those pieces.
exactly, and you can see. So when I direct a film, I'm always seeing what the end product is on set, right? And so I can see if we're not going in the direction I really wanted to go in, even though we're sticking to the script, I'm going to change the script. Like I frequently change the script on set just to make it better, adapt certain things. If, sometimes when you see someone say a line on set, it's not the same.
It didn't come out like you thought.
Right, exactly.
In your head. Well, that's fascinating. But I want to talk less about the process and have you tell us about a couple of your more recent films or Virginia films, and then maybe what you're working on next.
Absolutely. So recent films. So Valentine's Date. It's not a recent film. It's got like a year and some change, maybe
That's
a little
recent.
bit more, right? Yeah. But the thing about Valentine's Date is that it has become sort of a cult classic. A lot of people like this film. I think a lot of people are relating to it. Vizio recently did a promo, and it was the only black film in the promo. You know what I mean? Which is, I say black film, but really, that film in particular, it's got a very multicultural cast.
Well, yeah, there are black films that have black cultural themes or relate, but there are also relationship films that star black people, and they're not black films necessarily. It's, there can be a lot of different kinds of things.
Correct. And I think Valentine's Date has been able to do that.
Now, I think I look at it, I think, well, that's a weird rom-com. It's not, right? But it is a relationship story. So tell us just a little about it.
Yeah, so Valentine's Date, it is intended to be an unromantic comedy in the sense that, you have these two people who, first of all, I wrote this during COVID, by the way, right? So you have these two people who are, they're tired of each other. They are desperate to get a divorce. And they find out that, in the state where they live, you have to have a counseling session in order to get divorced. So they go to this counseling session. They're like, please sign this paperwork and so we can get on our way. And the counselor says, well, look at the newspaper. The law has changed. Now you have to have 300 hours. And so she proposes this alternative therapy. And if they do this alternative therapy over a weekend, then they can get their divorce and she'll sign off on it. But the alternative therapy goes horribly wrong. They end up in the middle of the desert and just everything. There's dead bodies and all kinds of stuff happening.
That sounds, well, I want to go see that one. Definitely, that's on my list.
Well, it's on Peacock and Amazon and Vizio and a bunch of other platforms.
All right, so what is next? You've got such a wide variety. Like, you do a lot of action, don't you?
I do a lot of action. So there's Rogue Cell 1 and 2. And there is a Rogue Cell 3 that is in the works. And Virginia has been tapped as the main location for that. There's also some other projects. There is a period piece that I'm working on, which will revolve around a church. And, to not give away too much right now, it revolves around the church and, a very historical church and the story behind that church, a Virginia church. So I'm really excited about that one. You know what I mean? It takes place in the 1700s. It's
1700s, okay.
Yeah, it is something I think that is going to change the way people look at Virginia. And it's going to elevate it's just going to elevate the brand of Virginia, I think, in a lot of ways.
So is this historical fiction? Is it history? I mean,
It's a biopic.
oh.
Yeah. So, yes. So, more to follow on that. I will
Okay.
come back and tell you
Okay,
all
you have
about
to
that
promise.
movie. Yes, I promise. I'm really excited about that, though. And then I'm working on a film in Spain, which should be done by the end of this year. It's called Rough Dog. And it is, it's an action movie. I'm working with director George Karja. He is an excellent director. What I love about working with this particular director, he's Romanian born, lives in Madrid. He's a martial artist, right? So when you have a director who is also a martial artist, like a highly trained and skilled martial artist, and you have your own stunt team, now you're making films that are on that John Wick level. You know what I mean? So it has been an incredible experience. I can't wait for our audience to see this movie. It's called Rough Dog, and I think everyone is going to be really shocked.
So as you get into those different niches, like, you know, the action adventure, you have almost a different crew and cast and people that you work with. And then if it's, you know, something else, a period drama, it might be completely different.
Absolutely. So,
and you're so varied. There's like a million people you're working with, right?
Yeah, no, and I love that, because what it means is I'm creating jobs for people all over the place, right? I have a team that I work with, a solid team in El Paso, Texas. Strangely enough, I was stationed there once. I have a very large team that I work with in Virginia, but I'm constantly recruiting more people as my productions get bigger. So this has been home for a while, actually, even when I wasn't living here, because of that, right? You make your contacts,
and you have people here, yeah.
Exactly. And then obviously there's this crew that I work with in Madrid. And they are central to everything that I do overseas. And George Karja, that director, he is the center of all of that, right? I also work with a production team in Bilbao, Spain, so in the north. Rose and Oliver, they also run a film festival, and so they're very helpful. So I do have, all over the world, I have these different groups of people that I can count on to make films. There's a group in Peru also.
Wow.
But everything, all of these things, you know, this is the headquarters. So I will be starting a studio eventually, probably within the next 24 months here in Hampton.
All right.
Yes, and we're going to take it as far as we can take it.
Well, I could talk to you for really a lot longer, but I think we need to wrap up. But I do want to thank you for coming back to Hampton and bringing your movie-making enterprise here. I think that's going to be great for jobs, great for image, and a lot of fun for people to know you and your cast and crews. It's great. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right, and I will have you back.
Sounds good to me.
All right. Thank you for watching, and please look into some of these films. It is so wonderful to have this talent right here in Hampton. Thanks for watching.